Hey guys, what's happening? Thanks for tuning in, coming back and watching. You know, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you're enjoying my Luminar 4 videos. I've got another one today. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do, and don't hesitate to leave me comments, feedback, and that sort of thing about my videos. Love interacting with you guys around this stuff. My last video I did, which was right there, was about brush masking. That was a deep dive video. And as I mentioned, I'm going to do a series of 4 deep dive videos in a row about masking. First was brush masking. Second is radial masking. That's this video. So let's hop into it. I have this photo here, which is not a photo at all. It's just a black piece of paper. Same as in the last video, but it's a great way to visually see what a radial mask does. So I've got a black piece of paper, and once again, I'm going to take the tone curve. I'm just going to make it white just because it allows me to easily visualize what we're doing. I'm going to go over to Edit Mask and get the radial mask. As soon as you click that, you'll see that it says to click and drag to draw a circle. And that's what a radial mask is. It's basically a oval or circle. You can adjust the shape and the size. I'll show you that in a moment. But click and drag. You can click and drag anywhere in the circle to make the circle. And you can see that immediately you have the mask drawn. Now remember, the base is black and the white was what I added. So normally the way I think of it is I like to paint in what I want to add, which is painting in the white. Default on radial mask is the invert of that, which is all of your painting is happening outside that core small circle. That's where all the edits occur. So I actually come over here and click invert immediately when I use a radial mask. And now the white area is the area that's getting the edit, which in this case is turning it white, but you get what I'm saying. So you can drag inside this circle just to move this around. So it doesn't matter really where you start, where it says click and drag circle. It doesn't really matter where you start because you have the ability to move that around. If you take either of these on the side, you can pull them to extend the shape in that direction. And that'll allow you to go from kind of a circle to a bit of an oval. And the same thing with the ones on the top or bottom. You can make it kind of a flatter oval shape or a larger oval shape. And you can grab this outer circle to increase or decrease the size of this area. This area does act a bit like a gradient. So inside this smaller or inner circle, you're getting 100% of the effect. From this inner circle to that outer circle, it becomes a gradient, as you can see here. It's totally white at the inner circle, and it starts to become gray all the way till you get to the edge. It becomes black. In other words, the effect is fading, and that's what I mean by gradient. It fades from this inner circle to that outer one. It fades and dissipates or diminishes all the way to 0, and then of course outside you're getting none of the effect. You can also rotate the mask with your mouse. If you just hover it outside like that, you can just kind of see you get that double headed arrow, and just anywhere you grab, you can do that. And I think I mentioned if you grab this, you can also expand the size of it. So that's really how a radial mask works. I generally, while I use brush masking, like in the last video, I use that on filters all the time. For radial masks, I tend to use those on layers. And that's because I like to make a lot of edits that are going to apply within a certain area, and then use the radial mask to just do that. And so it works for me like on street scenes and cityscapes where I might have a person walking or a car coming or whatever it might be with a street, and I'll take that person and I'll edit within this area with that person in it. You can also flip it like that. So you can just move this to find whatever your subject is, make all your edits on the layer, and they apply here. And then I'll often copy that mask and then go paste it on the next adjustment layer, and then invert the mask and make the outside white, if you will. So in other words, make adjustments on my next adjustment layer outside. So let me close this. I'll do a little workflow and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, this is my base photo. Actually, this is my base photo. I did crop it 16:9, and then I stuck one of my old presets on the photo just to give it a little bit of a kick. And so that's why some of these things are highlighted. That's on the base layer. So let me show you how I use radial mask. I'll go add a new adjustment layer. So like that, and I'm going to come over here. And what I want to do is I want to impact the area around this person on the scooter. This was shot in Times Square, New York. It was momentarily a little bit clear on the street, and this person was coming on a scooter, and I just kind of lined up and shot it. I just like those kind of things. And so this is a great example of how I will use radial mask. So keep in mind, I'm going to make a bunch of adjustments and then I'm going to apply the radial mask. So I'm going to start with light and I'm going to increase the exposure. Again, I'm focused on the area around this person. I'm going to add maybe a little bit of smart contrast. I'm going to add a little bit of structure as well, just to crunch that area up and maybe give it a little bit of boost. I mean, it is New York City. It's a little bit gritty. Let's just leave it at that. So now I go back up here to my layers, and this is where I have masking tools. So I can go to Edit Mask and Radial Mask. One click and I'll activate that. And you see it says click and drag to draw circle. So I can just start here and drag circle. And I'm going to immediately hit invert because I want to focus, I want to flip it so that the outside of these circles are getting no impact and the inside gets maximum impact. So I'm going to change the shape just as I showed you. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to rotate it a little bit, make it a little bit bigger. Drag that zone over here, make that a little bit bigger, and take this over here to where it's really focused on that person, something about like that. And so keep in mind that all of the edits I made in that light filter apply, and now I've applied the radial mask, so I could go make further edits within that area to impact that. I don't really need to, so I'm going to skip that, but just keep in mind. And here's a key thing to know about a radial mask is once you hit done and apply it, you can't go back and edit that same radial mask. If I were to go like this and click radial mask, it thinks I want to add another one, which I don't. So I'm going to say done. The only way to edit it is to go in here and go to brush. And then if you look at that, by clicking on it, you can see where the radial mask is, and you could paint or erase to further add to it. But you can't go in and edit that radial mask. So just keep in mind that's something to be aware of. I've really yet to come across a time when I needed to go back and edit the radial mask, but just FYI, I wanted you to be aware of that. So now I have the radial mask and everything's applying within, but now I want to make some adjustments to the photo outside of that radial mask. So I want to get a copy of it and invert it. So while I'm on the layer here, I'll just click this little drop down, go to mask and say copy. And I'm going to add a new adjustment layer. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to say mask and paste. Now you won't see anything because I haven't made any adjustments. I'm just putting the mask on this layer. And now that I've pasted, I'm going to go back into this masking menu for this layer and say invert. Now you can see the little colors here. Down here you can see white is that original radial mask that I made on that adjustment layer 1 right there, and black is unedited, and you can see I have the inverse of that on adjustment layer 2. Remember, white reveals and black conceals. So white, any adjustments that you're doing are being revealed in the white area and concealed in the black area. So now that I've put that radial mask on this adjustment layer 2, I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to use it as a little bit of a vignette. So I'm going to take the exposure down. And as I do that, you can see I'm tightening up focus because all I'm doing is darkening the area where the mask is applied, which is the opposite of the last layer, right? So last layer, I brightened this person on the scooter and some of the area around him or her. Now I am just darkening the area outside of that. While I'm at it, I'm also going to drop the temperature a little bit just to cool that off and maybe add a little bit of smart contrast. And I think that's about it, really. Now, I could go into these other things. In fact, you know what I'll do? I'll go to AI Structure, and I'm going to take it negative just to kind of soften up some of those details. You see how it kind of smooths that out and maybe boost a little bit to make it a little bit fuzzier or foggier looking on the outside. Remember, white reveals, black conceals. So the white area is outside that core circle. Now, that's really how I use a radial mask on my photos. I do it a lot with street scenes because it's great for tightening up focus and allowing you to really hone in on what your subject is, because a scene like this, especially in a city, you can have a lot of competing elements, things that are competing for your viewer's attention. And in this case, it's Times Square. Like, you can't get much busier place than Times Square. And I really wanted to key in on that person coming. It tells a little bit of a story. This person, maybe they're escaping, escape from New York, whatever. But the point is, I wanted to really draw the attention of the viewer to them. And I did that by using the radial mask to increase the details and the brightness level around them, and then an inverted radial mask on this adjustment layer 2, to darken the area, cool it off, and soften up the details. So I think naturally you're just kind of drawn to where the light is, and you see that subject lining up, and I think it works. So that's how I use radial masks, and this was a deep dive video, which was part 2, if you will, of my 4-part series. Next, I'll be doing adjustable gradient masks, or that sort of thing. So that's coming, and then luminosity masks. But that's how I use radial masks on cityscapes. It works great on landscapes. It works great on really a lot of things. But that's my base photo before anything was applied. However, it has been cropped. And that's my final photo, just tightening up focus. And honestly, I would play around with that a little bit more, but I just wanted to show you how I use it and talk about how to use radial masks. And that's it, my friends. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe, share, like, comment, let me know what you think. And I'll be seeing you soon. I appreciate you watching. Thanks very much. Have a great day. Take care, and adios.